Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the next Wasteless World Talks with Bill, Kevin, and Mark. We will write on the back of a language looking for the meaning of the next term. And this is transformation. And I will start with you, Bill, because I have you on the top of my screen. So, when you heard the term transformation for the first time from me today, what came first to your mind, please?
I welcome the word because I feel as though I am always transforming into something else.
All right. What about you, Kevin?
I think of Franz Kafka and an even better version of the word, which is metamorphosis. I think that for me, transformation is just a touch too positive, whereas metamorphosis has a darker side, which I find really interesting.
All right.
Wonderful.
And
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I love it.
your turn, Mark. What came
Yeah,
first to
that
your
that
mind?
that really is that's really nice, Kevin. It's what strikes me is the does that transformation, that metamorphosis occur because of ourselves or because of the environments we find ourselves in?
Maybe both.
And I wonder what the differences are between the two of them. So, in terms of personal transformation, um, as we become senior citizens, certain faculties start disappearing, whether it's eyesight, hearing, whatever, and therefore we are transformed by our physical capabilities. So that's one side, but attitudes change for other reasons. And I think we can transform through curiosity, through really being aware and observing with great care. Sorry, I'll stop there.
Also through hardship.
Yes.
As you mentioned that with the age, let's say it's our, for example, eyesight weaker and our hearing. To be honest, I enjoy this transformation because when I look in the mirror, I look all the time the same. And one day I was in this hotel and they have this, how it's called, as this detailed mirror. I don't know how it's called. This your face looks so detailed. I
Yeah.
don't know who invented this horrible thing. Uh, and with the hearing is exactly the same. So when I would like to sleep, I sleep on my left side because I know the right ear does not hear so good. So my sleep is really not disturbed. But let me ask you a question, which I asked in the noon session. Do you remember your own major transformation in your own life, Bill? Starting with you.
I've had several. Probably the days, weeks, and months leading up to my divorce. Um, all of a sudden, everything that I had built or everything I had recognized uh, was no longer, and there was a void, and I had felt the void coming. Um, then I felt it when it was here, and the void didn't last very long, a few months, and suddenly I realized that not only was there another whole world out there, but and it came to me one night. I can still remember the night. I was walking on the street with all the houses in the evening. The lights were on in the houses, and at first I thought, oh, look at all these people having a normal life. And then I thought, well, I know that one's sick, and I know that one just lost a loved one, and I know, and pretty soon the realization came over me that everybody in every single one of these houses I'm passing has a not good story to tell. And that made me feel better that I was not the only one that was that was that was suffering. And that helped me to change. That one I still remember it. There were other evenings also, but the transformation, huge transformation that evening, or the start of a transformation. Okay, I'll shut up.
Kevin, do you have something similar?
Yeah, I agree with Bill that there's more than one, but I think that, of course, having children is one, getting married, getting divorced, they're all transformations. So I think the interesting thing is a real transformation is permanent. You know, it's not something you go back from. You change from one state to another state, and that's it. And then you have to get on from there.
Mark, what about you?
Yes, just coming back to that, Kevin, do you mean, I mean, if one transforms from A to B, one doesn't remain B forever. One can transform again from B to C.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes. So, no, I agree with you. I guess there have been many periods of change and transformation. The one that I'm most aware of is a transformation that I think I'm still going through, which has been from the last, 12 years, 12, 13 years of transforming from working in a corporate environment in a global industry to suddenly moving into the academic world and working very closely with startups and mentoring. And it didn't happen overnight, but I realized gradually that I was unlearning what I'd learned up until that point. So as my career had gone through corporate world and various other things, I have found myself on a totally, totally different path, which has forced me to change my approaches and value different things. And that transformation is exciting. And that's why I kind of struggle, because it's certainly not an overnight. I feel as if I'm going through that transformation right now, and it keeps taking twists and turns, and I'm embracing them with great joy. I mean, because they're so challenging, they're so exciting, and the potential, the opportunities that I see emerging are just phenomenal. So that for me is a longer term one. You know?
Will you say transformation is more a revolution or evolution?
I think if you suddenly lose a limb, it's one thing. That is, there is a revolution there. If one is adopting a new way of working, it is an evolution. And yes, it can take either.
Usually the word came from me, but not today. Today it was introduced by Roman. He is the 15 years old son of Jane. And he came with it today. I have a very different term, which was, I would say, too complicated because it was very pushed through by something what's happening right now. So it was not the right one, and I feel it. And he came with this award. And when he came with it, for me, immediately, I have many transformations myself, but the last one, of course, is uh, on May 17, 2025, when I met Jane again after 35 years. So, and I do fully agree that it's a transformation as a process. Do you think that we can push transformation? So I don't think, Bill, that you decided to walk the street and came with these thoughts. It was not pushed. It was not coincident. It was the result of something what happening before. But can we push successful transformation? I don't know if you understand what I mean.
So it's a good question. You can push it if you are not happy with the way things are. If something needs to change and you recognize that, then you can open yourself up in ways I think that you can be more open to transformation, more open to change. Some people just are not open to change. But I saw this one coming. I didn't recognize it, but I saw that one coming for at least a couple of years. So it was a long process, even though the door opened quickly and I realized the monster that was there on the other side of the door turned out to be a good monster, but I didn't know it at the beginning. Yes, I think you can push it.
Yeah, and I think there's two kinds of transformation. There's there's the one which comes from within, and then there's one which is forced on us by external factors.
Yep.
So I remember living in Copenhagen and then just deciding that I needed to work in Berlin. But that was my own decision. Nothing was forced. And of course, that changed everything about my life after doing that. So that was a conscious decision. Whereas for, some people, getting divorced is a long process, which is more or less imposed on you. Losing your job and having to relocate. There's all these different external factors that can cause transformation. So it comes both from within and without.
It's said that what you can we have to measure everything. Can we measure transformation? What do you think, Mark?
It's incredibly difficult, and it's no, I mean, I see myself going to, if one tries to measure that, it really, I think one can soon end up in an area where you're trying to count how many angels can stand on the head of a pin. Theoretically, one can quantify it. There are certain things clearly one can quantify in terms of maybe athletic performance or something. But that transformation is adaptability, it's resilience. Because if circumstances change around one, if one is unable to change, it's possible to disappear, to not be able to survive. If one looks at evolution, that ability to transform, to adapt to changing environments. And where people are able to embrace that naturally, there is an inherent resilience within people. But rather than it simply being transformation to counter something, a threat, a problem outside, what I find wonderful is when that transformation opens up new opportunities, unexpected opportunities. When you think, when creatures first learned to fly, suddenly a new world literally opened up as a result of it. Okay. Whereas when you look around the Pacific at the great birds that realized they didn't need to fly any longer and they lost the ability, when rats or other vermin got onto their islands from outside, they were all destroyed. And I think this question of resilience is so exciting. What also I find interesting is, can one change oneself? Yes, clearly there are people that have that discipline to consciously transform themselves. But when one is looking at helping others to transform themselves, that becomes far more challenging. Because if one is trying to encourage one to stop doing something which you know is harmful, is causing problems, there can be extraordinary resistance that prevents the transformation. And then it's far more effective if someone can become excited by doing a new thing rather than stopping something that they have been doing. It's far better to get excited about playing tennis or paddleball than getting into endless discussions as to whether you should stop smoking. You know?
During the noon discussion, Leslie mentioned the term transmutation, which the alchemist used to change metal or iron in gold or nothing into whatever. Are these words somehow connected?
I think if you look at the universe, when a star is burning, it may be burning hydrogen or has fusion, but it creates a lot of bigger or less simple elements. You look at the table of elements, and this it increases in complexity, and I think that's the universe transforming all the time.
Billy, you have something to say for sure.
I was thinking something that Kevin was saying made me think of my career, which I would say is is still going on, but so many interruptions in my career, and my interruption in my marriage, and so many interruptions, changes, and I've never had one that was bad. And so now, for the last many years, I would say I'm ready for it because I've never had a bad one. It's always turned out better, and I can't be in a defensive, fearful mode because logically there's no reason. It's always worked out.
In the noon discussion, there was one more term. The transformation is a reflection of something what happened already. Or can it be the vision? I have the vision to build Wasteless World. I do it every single day. It helped me to transform myself, my work, everything what I do. Love, I might change this, but still my aim is still the same. Just I added love, and I'm much more powerful at the moment. But looking back, I'm not sure. But the idea, I like the idea. I don't like the way that it looks. If it's a reflection only, then you cannot change it at that moment because you don't know that this is the transformation. Do we feel it? You mentioned, Bill, that you feel it. When I have my first nirvana, I feel that there is something different. I didn't know what it is. I have learned about it 10 years later, but I feel it's different. And I have this moment until today. Every single time when I have such a moment, I write it down and I work on it. But I didn't do that before, of course. But is it reflection? Yes, Mark?
Sorry, could I ask, Michael, when the term reflection was used, Was it used as reflection or imitation? I'm
Uh,
thinking of a chameleon. A
mhm.
chameleon transforms its appearance depending on the environment it finds itself in. It imitates it, it doesn't reflect it.
Uh, I cannot answer. Of course, we have the recording. It was said by Leslie, and maybe it will be interesting to have Leslie here as well. So she's living in the US, so it shouldn't be a problem. Uh, it will be very interesting. Very interesting, I think. So maybe next time. I cannot answer it. I can share with you the recording because I do not remember exactly. But I like the way how she explained it, and she explained very well. So I just do
Okay.
not remember.
No.
But Mark, I like I would like to think more about this word reflection, because it seems to me that what we think of this world or of our lives is a reflection of something far deeper. It's a reflection of maybe our beliefs, maybe our past life, um, but it is a reflection of something, and that something is what is, I think, going together to make us, to transform us uh, into, I won't say a better person, but into one more able to cope, or more able to enjoy, or more able to love. So I think that reflection is very closely related to transformation, and I don't even know why I'm saying that. I've never thought about that before.
Uh, I would like to take one more point. What is the opposite of transformation? I have no idea.
Well, unchanging rigidity,
Rigidity.
fragility.
But even rigidity can be a transformation. If someone is all the time not rigid and he or she become rigid, then it is a transformation. So I'm not sure if it's I am not sure if there is an opposite. And we have several terms where we struggle with the opposite. What do you think, Kevin? I see in your face that it's not easy.
No, originally I was going to say entropy, but of course it's not, because entropy is also a transformation. It is the lack of anything happening. I guess, like Marx says, it's absolute zero. Where nothing moves, nothing happens, nothing can change. So there can be no transformation. But maybe that's just a mechanism to stop transformation rather than an opposite of.
Just before we start, I saw on LinkedIn a post where it was written the most expensive element on Earth is antimatter. And there was a ampoule with some light inside, and there was a amount of whatever billion of for 1 gram of antimatter. And I was just thinking, so it has the same, or it has lower value than Industry 5.0 because I'm on 3 quadrillion at the moment. And it's the same. You can hardly touch it, and nobody will buy it. So it's quite interesting, the transformation topic, because I think that all of us, not only 4 of us, but all of us, and it was said at the beginning, it's a permanent process. We are in transformation process, just this very deep transformation. And I don't know whether the term transformation is for this stage the right one. This very, very game changer of transformation. Whether it needs another term, reborn, I don't know.
No. But nature, of course, is an expert on transformation. the fact that a caterpillar can change into a butterfly is just incredible. And again, there's no going back.
Yes.
On the other hand, we have animals which can freeze and unfreeze and live again and do it again and again and again. So I think that even nature has an example of a reverse. Can we reverse transformation? I think we can.
I think one's got to be careful there, because you're looking at an attribute of a creature rather than a fundamental transformation.
Yeah.
So you can have a superficial transformation, like a disguise, but I think the transformations that we're talking about here are more fundamental. And nature does provide us so many examples of those transformations. If we're surrounded by them all the time. We can see them happening. Sometimes we can't see them in terms of how creatures, plants, or whatever are evolving over time. But we know from the research available to us that they have occurred. They are always going on. It really is so exciting to see that change, because going back to that opposite, it really is the opposite of transformation. Really feels as if it is vacuum. Nothing is happening within it.
If I take the example of nirvana, where your soul really leave the body and you see yourself from the top, unbelievable. I have it for 3 times when I was a kid, and there's nothing happening as well. So I can say nirvana is vacuum in some way. But what I would like to ask, do you think it is difficult to pretend transformation? Or is it an easy thing?
Incredibly easy.
It's incredibly easy. You just have to learn to lie.
Yes.
Is it true that something that has experienced a transformation can never go back and will remain in that state forever?
No. Water, ice. If the temperature changes, it reverts to water. So the question is water freezing a transformation or an attribute of water?
I think it's an attribute.
Yeah, because it's still H2O, just in a different state, depending upon temperature.
Yes. And that's why I think this distinction between attribute and genuine transformation is so important. And possibly, well, no, I'm stretching it, but is it easy to pretend to be transformed? Yeah, it is easy. And for that transformation, is it only ourselves that know that, or is it observed by others, or is it both? Who knows?
I think most people who appear in front of the magistrates, they've definitely transformed.
A lot of
as my wife is a magistrate, I've seen her transformed as well. Yeah.
I think a lot of politicians have been transformed, sometimes many times. I think that's what that maybe is the definition, or how you know that you have a true friend, or is a person that you can rely on, because they don't transform. The ability to not transform when times get tough is a desirable attribute.
I agree
Yeah,
with
so much so that it's, it used to be quite common Christian names to be called Constantine or Constance, to be constant.
Yet, okay, but one does expect a degree of, if not fundamental transformation, at least change. If I think of some of my oldest friends who I went to school with, okay, if those friends today were still those 14-year-old boys and acted like a 14-year-old, I don't think we get on for much longer.
We started with mentioning the age and transformation of the body and so on. I do remember when I spoke with my granddad just before he was almost 100 and he passed away. And he said, "Do you know, Michael, what is the worth about such a high age?" And I said, because he was of a good health and his brain working brilliantly till the very last days. He said, "Is the issue that everyone around you are passing away at the end, and I'm just deleting the number in a mobile phone. And I have nobody to talk with. All his friends gone 10 years before him. Then he has the younger ones, and still he was longer living than all the others." And I don't know whether this is the transformation. I know that transformation is business and politics and social and so on. It's something very different than the genuine transformation, as you name it, Mark. And it will be great if we enjoy transformation. At the same time, I like the example of the name Constantine, to be constant. Because after I transformed and start to build Wasteless World, I'm constant. I'm going in one direction. I do not want anybody disturb it, because I know I should do it. And my granddad taught me I will achieve it. I will see it, but I will not live in it. And I don't care, because it's not living in it. It's not the aim. The aim is to build Wasteless World for all.
Yeah. Out of interest, when each of you have gone through a transformation, have you noticed the people around you struggling with your transformation?
Every single one. Except of my granddad. He was the only one who believed in me. But for my mom, it took almost 5 years.
Mm. It is funny when you see I mean, I'm thinking of some more like simple things. So where I've been fascinated by, say, new technologies, application of new technologies, whatever, I can suddenly go through a real transformation where I perceive value somewhere. And by value, I'm not talking just in terms of wealth and all manner of value. And people looking at me and being wonderfully polite and trying to accommodate my change. And there's an expression that I first heard in Xerox, which is when you are with those people and you're explaining something and they're all nodding at you and smiling. And in Xerox, it was called GF. And the G stood for grin, okay? And basically, you would go into a meeting with these people and everyone would sit there, basically grin fucking. And you would come out and you think everyone agrees. And it wasn't a facial expression and a nodding of the head as people saying, I don't know what on earth is going on about. When I threw myself out of the corporate world and completely online back in 95, most people thought I was completely, crazy, insane. Going out, starting a company in the mobile industry, people thought completely insane. And the nice thing is that you get to the point where you accept that others don't quite grasp what you're about. You might be making a terrible mistake, but don't grasp. But the wonderful thing, and it goes back to what Bill was saying, is that good friends are wonderfully accommodating because they understand that you're on a path and they'll at least go along with you, even if they disagree.
We have just 1 minute left. 1 minute left.
You're kidding.
So, sorry, Bill. I have to say thank you for being with me in this transformative hour, which is really great every single week. And let us meet again in 1 week time. And right now it's time to say, have a nice time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, be free, be human, and be the transformation itself. Enjoy it and be the role model. Thank you and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.